Edgar Allan Poe, genius, madness, and the man behind the raven. He wrote of ravens and madness, of hearts beneath floorboards, and telltale signs of terror. He lived in shadows and died in mystery. This is the haunting, unforgettable story of Edgar Allan Poe, the father of the American Gothic, and a man whose life was as strange as his stories. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary. These words, etched into the soul of American literature, were penned by a man whose own life was as haunting as his verse. He was a poet, a critic, a dreamer, and a madman. At least so said his enemies. This is the story of Edgar Allan Poe, the orphan, the genius, the outcast, and the man whose death remains as mysterious as his most chilling tales. Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston on January 19, 1809, to actors David and Eliza Poe. His life began in hardship. His father abandoned the family, and his mother died of tuberculosis when Poe was just 3 years old. He was taken in by the wealthy Allan family of Richmond, Virginia. Though never formally adopted, his foster father John Allan gave Poe his name, but not the love or support he truly needed. Young Edgar was intelligent, sensitive, and rebellious. He thrived in literature and the arts, but he clashed with his foster father, especially over money, and Poe's ambition to be a writer, not a businessman. Poe was sent to fine schools and even studied briefly at the University of Virginia, but gambling debts and a growing rift with John Allan led to his expulsion. This conflict would haunt him for years. At 17, Poe enrolled at the University of Virginia. There, he excelled in academics, but was crushed by debt from gambling. When Allan refused to cover the expenses, Poe dropped out. Facing ruin, Poe enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1827 under the name Edgar A. Perry. He served with distinction at Fort Independence and elsewhere, even rising to the rank of sergeant major. He even enrolled at West Point, but was eventually dismissed, likely by design, after deliberately violating regulations. Even during his military years, Poe's heart belonged to literature. His first book, Tamerlane and Other Poems, was published in 1827, anonymously. The seeds of his literary legacy had been sown. By the 1830s, Poe had turned to writing full-time. He crafted chilling tales that played with the human psyche, death, and the unknown. His first book sold poorly, but the seeds of literary greatness were planted. He pioneered the short story, revolutionized horror, and practically invented detective fiction with the murders in the Rue Morgue, predating Sherlock Holmes by decades. The Fall of the House of Usher, The Black Cat, and The Telltale Heart shocked readers with their vivid descent into madness. Poe was also a pioneering critic, feared for his scathing reviews, but he yearned for literary success and stability. In 1836, he married his 13-year-old cousin, Virginia Clem. She was his muse, delicate, shy, and tragically sick. Their bond was deep, though her health steadily declined. Her slow decline from tuberculosis tore at Poe's soul. The shadow of her illness hangs over works like Annabel Lee, The Raven, and Ligeia. Virginia died in 1847, and Poe was never the same. He spiraled into depression and alcoholism, teetering between fame and destitution. Poe poured his grief into prose. When The Raven was published in 1845, Poe finally achieved national fame. Nevermore became a literary catchphrase, but fame didn't bring fortune. While Poe battled poverty, his sharp pen earned him both admiration and enemies. Enter Rufus Wilmot Griswold, editor, rival, and eventual literary executor of Poe's works. Their feud was a battle of words, ego, and slander. Griswold loathed Poe's scathing critiques, and when Poe died in 1849, Griswold struck. He penned a brutal obituary under a pseudonym, calling Poe a drunk, a madman, and morally bankrupt. That was only the beginning. Griswold published a scathing biography, portraying Poe as a drunk, a drug addict, a madman. He forged letters, fabricated stories, and turned Poe into a cautionary tale. Ironically, it was Griswold's venom that kept Poe's name in the public eye. On October 3, 1849, Poe was found delirious and incoherent on the streets of Baltimore, wearing clothes that weren't his. He repeatedly called out the name Reynolds and died just days later, on October 7th. To this day, the cause of Poe's death remains a mystery. Theories abound. Alcohol, poisoning, rabies, diabetes, even cooping, a voting fraud tactic where victims were drugged and forced to vote multiple times in different clothes. No one knows for sure. His final words, "Lord help my poor soul." Poe was buried in an unmarked grave. Only later would his name rise from obscurity. Despite all poverty, scandal, and the betrayal of his memory, Edgar Allan Poe has become one of the most influential writers in world literature. He is the father of detective fiction. Writers like Arthur Conan Doyle, Jules Verne, Stephen King, and filmmakers like Alfred Hitchcock all cited Poe as an inspiration. His poems and tales have been adapted countless times in film, TV, and music. Poe societies exist across the world. His home is a museum, his stories are adapted constantly, and every Halloween, his shadow walks again. Every year, fans gather at his grave. For decades, a mysterious visitor, known as the Poe Toaster, left roses and cognac at his tomb on his birthday. Edgar Allan Poe's life was a tragedy steeped in genius, misunderstood, mocked, and maligned in life. His words have outlived them all. In the shadowy corners of our fears, in the ticking of a guilty heart, in the fluttering wings of a midnight raven, Poe lives on, and as long as we read, imagine, and dream in the dark, he always will. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. Thank you for watching our historical rendition of Edgar Allan Poe, Genius, Madness, and the Man Behind the Raven. Please like, share, and subscribe to see more historical adventures.